What's up, YouTube? We're going to do a little talk because these bad boys, they're going off to a new home. And it made me think, what is a knife? This at one point was nearly a knife, right? This primitive thing. I've joked around that it's one point that, these primitive knives were the new Jack Wolf knives. What is a Jack Wolf knife compared to these knives? Is it better? Why is it better? Is it not? This is not a brand comparison, by the way. It's more of a philosophical talk. But, so Jack Wolf represents some of the best cutlery that you can buy. I think that it is not a, hang on while I tighten this down. It's not a stretch of the imagination. It doesn't matter that they're made in China, unless you're political, I guess. Political in a certain way. I don't consider it racist, but maybe some people you could say it's definitely racial, only because the Chinese, are a race. I don't know I guess French people are that way. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. When I first got these to me were the, the coolest and best the American cutlery had to offer. And I think that still these represent that. Man, I wish I could figure out why this is shaking. Hang on. Bear with me, guys. It'll stop, I swear. For me, I'm not a Northwoods guy, so these things are, the best. And I paid a very pretty penny for them. The gentleman who purchased these did as well. I'm going to obviously wipe them down. They're not going to go out with fingerprints. I'm going to package them nice and neatly and go from there. I think I figured out why it's moving. There we go. But what I'm trying to get at is I was so happy to, get a hold of these and stick with me. When I first started, it's not going to stop moving, is it? You gotta be kidding me. When I first started collecting, I figured out why. When I first started collecting, it was Rough Riders and then A.G. Russells and then up and up and up until I ran into GEC, which I had known was around. I just wasn't into it. And, for me, it wasn't just a knife. It was the best America had. And, where Jack Wolf would be the best overseas has, maybe from a certain region, maybe in the world. I don't listen. We would have to really nail down a criterion. So much of this is subjective. But, when I had A.G. Russells that were rare and nice, and I moved on. I'm not moving on from traditionals or GEC really. I would move them on because I would know that there was a collector that would want them and appreciate them, so much more. And when I got these, there was I've done videos multiple times saying I would never sell them. There was a part of back of my mind is, the reason they're not users is maybe I do have to move them on and to somebody who would appreciate them more. And the gentleman who bought these, we got a hold of each other through a Facebook group, and I didn't have to do the eBay thing, eBay pricing, and that's good. But because eBay's pricing is just like insane, but you can't lower it too much, or else people will just like turn around and flip it. But I didn't really make any money on the sale, which is totally fine. When you say you're moving something on, you're not, it's not like you're cashing in a bunch of Bitcoin. I just need to shrink my collection. My collection is huge. I have so many knives, and GECs are of such a high value monetarily that I'm afraid to use them. And that really has to do with economic theory. We're not going to get too far into it, although we have before on this channel. But money is coercive, right? The more of it, the more likely you are to do something. And although I do think these will continue to increase in value, probably, honestly, probably upwards of, $500 each, honestly, probably more than that. But for me, I'm slimming down, moving these guys, and to a better home, to a guy that, because he's going to appreciate it more. He's excited. He can't wait, and that makes that's cool. It's unfortunate they use these kind of boxes because they crease. I don't know how to stop that, because if you look on the inside, I guess it is a little bit. It drives me crazy. What I'm getting at is, we're not using these anymore, and we're also not using box cutters. But I want my collection to be that happy medium of a fairly slim compared to how it is now. So I gotta really sell some knives, and I have been, but slimmer and filled with things that I'm more likely to grab and really appreciate while I use them. And I appreciated being able to touch these, being able to have them on my channel, in my collection. I think they're great pieces of cutlery. I think they're going to hold up extremely well. They also match. Wow, I didn't even think of that. But, yeah. I guess I'm trying to explain why, but if this gentleman, if he keeps them pristine, at some point, maybe he passes them on to his children, maybe they, in a couple of years, they're worth upwards of $5 each. He moves them down the road to someone else who's like, holy, ay caramba. That's where value, what it is to you, what it is on the market. I hate to jump so far into politics, but Marxist theory has, there's a personal value to you. There's a market value, what it's worth to everyone else. There's another one too. I forget though, because that essay really wasn't grabbing me by my interest, But yeah, and me and him were able to figure out a price that was chill for both of us and not crazy at all. I thought was fair for both of us. It is what it is. Like, we bought them together, so we got a little discount. Would he get a better deal somewhere else? Probably not, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Maybe he could, right? Maybe if he waited in the groups long enough, he could. But there's only so many of these. They're getting used. They're getting stored away. It's getting harder and harder. And that's kind of what's going on with my collection, I know Jersey Knife Guy is in the comments. He's breaking my balls. Like, why? I'm kind of asking, but in his way, he's got a good sense of humor on him. Like, what's going on? Why you're missing the drop, and I'm missing the drops. It's just because I'm fumbling them. I'm trying, guys. I am. It's just that I've just been so unlucky the last couple of months. But I'm also a lot less motivated to get in there and pay especially in the secondary, pay a bunch of money for something that I'm gonna have to turn around and then be afraid to use and then move down the road for me anyway, very marginal. I want to say like total, it's the amount I'm making is not very much. I could probably afford a cheap tank of gas. Let's put it that way. In a small gas tank too, which is fine, man. Because for me, it's not right now. If you would have asked these from me when I first got them, I would have been like 500 a piece easy. But now it's like I have so many knives, period, in the whole collection, right? I've got a bunch of case, I've got a bunch of French knives, I got a bunch of all kinds of stuff. And it's cumbersome. And some of these are so far up market that I don't want to, there's a difference between assets and liabilities. And if I was more stable, if I wasn't kind of in the wind, out in the wind, so to speak, kind of a nomad this summer, seeing what's going to happen with different things I won't get into. Nothing dramatic. It's just like life, boring stuff. And I had a big vault and it was airtight. He's not going to need to do this unless they really get expensive. But you know what I'm saying. Right now, it's not for me to move this stuff. Obviously, if you've been around the channel for a minute, this last summer, I was moving and the U-Haul had a wheel end fire, it's called. And I rushed in and I saved the knives because I had stupidly put them in the trailer. And a gentleman helped me. He said, grab what's most valuable. And I think he thought, and he even said photo albums or something like that. And I was like, follow me. And then I grabbed this big bag of knives. And we get out there and I was like, hold on to these. That's a bunch of knives. And he's like, oh, all right, yeah, I got you. I would have done the same thing. So I know that maybe not makes sense to everybody, but that's fine because it's my collection. And these would be better suited in a more stable environment with someone who will appreciate them more and, do his thing, whether he keeps them, moves them on, passes them down, whatever it is. I wish him the best. I want him to like them. Because these are great pieces of cutlery. Anyway, this is getting long. But I only brought up Jack Wolf knives in not a negative sense. But, this is the best in America. I would say Jack Wolf knives probably the best you can get from, west. If you were to head really far west. Some people would call it Eastern, but that could be racist. I don't know. And I don't want to offend people that will never understand me or listen to this. But it doesn't matter. What I'm just saying is, semantics aside, there's a difference between, we started with this, a box cutter would do. I wanted the best from my people. I wanted the best from an American tradition. Bam. If we were to open it worldwide, we would have Fontenelle Patade and a bunch of French names I can hardly say. Then we'd have German names I can't really say. Then we would have other names I can't really say. And then there would also be Jack Wolf knives right there, right? So they would be there. That's why I brought them up. Because we're talking about like the very tippity top of the market. Because to the point where there are some of these things, although production runs are, I get there's some people still in the groups that act like there's some kind of authority when, I'm not gonna talk too much shit, but it's like, you're not important. Some of these production runs are pretty close to I don't want to say perfect, but as good as it's gonna get. Even if you're talking about the law of diminishing returns at that point. Should we have a custom, even if each one of these were custom made, how much better would they be? Would they be a little bit better tuned? I don't know, man. They're using the same machines, the same equipment that I'm assuming, and that's what I understand, that have been used since Queen, kind of like how there's brands in France that does that. I'm sure there's brands in Germany that do that. I would bet Jack Wolf knives is either made in the same factory or around where the A.G. Russell brands are or where the Rough Rider Reserves are. But the attention to detail and the care is so specific, like with these, and the quality control is so high. And if you go back and watch my interview with Ben, he said, we brought up, we had to withdraw this one run of a design, and he was like, yeah, I went back and I checked the schematics, and I was right, and they made it right. They didn't throw them under the bus. They, made everything right. And so we're talking about tolerances that are so small. And that's what perfection is. So in any event, these are leaving. They're up and away. I'm going to wax them on down, shine them up. Then I'm going to pack them away. They'll be good. Sorry this was boring for some of you, but thanks for sticking with me till the end. That's all she wrote for this one. Hope you folks have a great rest of your day. Bye now.